Epilepsy warning for flashing lights and colors. Well, everybody, the Halloween season is here yet again. And what would this time of year be without spooky stuff? This year, I decided to go big with an all-new dark ride list. Today we'll be covering not 10, but 20 of the scariest dark rides out there as voted on by the viewers. But for this video, I'm gonna need some backup. So joining me on this spooktacular adventure is dark ride enthusiast the Carpetbagger, theme park enthusiast Fastpass Facts, and voice actor / part-time werewolf Jonah Scott. So without further ado, let's get on with the list.
Number 20, Mr. Toad's Wild Ride at California's Disneyland. First opening in 1955, this ride is based on the 1949 animated movie The Adventures of Ichabod and Mr. Toad. Both the film and the ride focus on a motor vehicle-obsessed Toad with a habit for reckless driving. Passengers take on the role of Mr. Toad, boarding a newfangled horseless carriage and going on a joyride through England. Best way to sum up this ride would be chaotic. This attraction takes place mostly in the dark with cutout figures brightly illuminated by black light. The vehicles zigzag around the course, narrowly avoiding terrified-looking pedestrians and crashing through several buildings. It all seems like fun and games, but things take a dark turn towards the end. After being found guilty by a judge, Mr. Toad's vehicle will enter a head-on collision with a train, a cartoon explosion is seen, and it is implied that Mr. Toad literally died and went to hell. Yes, you can actually die and go to hell on a Disney ride. The room is even heated to add to the effect. The craziest part is neither the collision nor the hell scene even happen in the movie. This is by far one of the darkest Disney rides out there, and several park guests recall being terrified of it as children. As long as Mr. Toad is going to hell, though, he can at least take Cars 2 down with him.
Number 19. Hollywood Tour at Germany's Fantasy Island. Imagine taking the now defunct Great Movie Ride and making it a lot more disturbing. You'd get this unusual dark ride. Though reportedly closed for good, this attraction first opened in 1990. This ride sent passengers on a boat ride through various famous movies. Although it likely wasn't meant to be scary at first, the ride would heavily decay over the years, making it much more unsettling. Several animatronics populated this ride, with each of them having zombie-looking faces. Tarzan's arm looks like it's coming off his shoulder, Glinda the Good Witch looks like she's having an exorcism, and everyone else looks like lifeless dummies. But the humans are only scratching the surface with this ride. For example, there's the infamous Jaws scene, which was previously discussed in this channel. A deceased-looking fisherman and his boat plunge underwater before two rotting animatronic sharks rise above the surface. This scene has become notorious for triggering submechanophobia, but there's even more than that. Another infamously creepy segment is the giant spider with its filthy-looking fur hanging above the riders. And last, there's the King Kong portion, where the ape's gnarled, nasty-looking fingers chillingly wiggle above the passengers. Over the years, the ride would be heavily criticized for both poor upkeep and its reportedly awful smell. Considering how acclaimed and high quality the rest of the park's rides are, it's no wonder why this one reportedly closed down. Still though, it was an ambitious dark ride that many still remember fondly. Hopefully it'll be replaced with something just as ambitious.
Number 18, the Haunted Castle at California's Santa Cruz Beach Boardwalk. We're going medieval with this one. Built by Florida-based Sally Corporation, the attraction lives up to its name, taking guests through a haunted castle occupied by the living dead. Several animatronic props are scattered throughout the layout, and while the overall tone is darkly humorous, there are quite a few effective scares as well. First you have the common jump scares, such as a bog monster popping out and a sign falling to reveal vicious rats. Then there are the more surreal scares, including a zombie chef cooking a rabbit-like monster alive and a velociraptor randomly appearing in the forest. And then there are the spiders. Ugh. These critters are nasty, and they really do add to the ride's fear factor. You typically don't think of dark rides when you think of boardwalk parks, but this attraction is definitely worth checking out if you visit Santa Cruz. It's got both the charm and high quality Sally is known for.
Number 17. The original Alice in Wonderland at Disneyland. Back when it first opened, this ride was said to be a lot more terrifying. First opening in 1958, this ride is based on the 1951 animated Disney film Alice in Wonderland. The film is often remembered as one of the most surreal and bonkers Disney movies of all time. And to the surprise of no one, the original ride was just as insane. After falling down the rabbit hole, guests are taken through several chaotic and sometimes creepy set pieces. In one scene, the vehicles navigate the flower garden, where dandelions would pop up from the floor and roar at the children. In another scene, the Mad Hatter and the March Hare also pop up from the ground, angrily saying, "Very, very rude." But perhaps the most unsettling section of the ride was the Cheshire Cat. This menacing-looking cutout sported a psychotic grin, with a speaker hole in his mouth. Even worse, he would jump scare passengers from under the stool he was sitting on. To put it bluntly, the technical limitations at the time made this ride much scarier than it is today. Nowadays, colorful animatronics and effects give the ride a much more family-friendly appearance, but the fear factor of the original will always be remembered.
Number 16, Pinocchio's Daring Journey at various Disney parks. Based on the 1940 animated film, this ride retains the movie's abstract and disturbing nature. Unlike Mr. Toad, this ride doesn't stray far from the movie and stays faithful to the story. After watching Pinocchio dancing, things immediately get dark when the villainous Stromboli has trapped Pinocchio in a birdcage. After escaping, guests head to Pleasure Island, where everything seems peaceful, but things aren't all cake and candy for long. This immediately is followed by the film's infamous donkey transformation scene. After once again escaping, guests encounter the scariest part of the ride. Jiminy Cricket warns guests to watch out for Monstro, when suddenly the massive whale pops up from behind the rock to swallow them whole. His design also uses perspective illusions to make it look bigger than it actually is. Fortunately, instead of going to Puppet Hell, Pinocchio managed to escape again and the Blue Fairy revives him. So at the very least, this ride does have a happy ending, but that doesn't mean tons of children haven't been terrified by this ride. With its dark tone, faithfulness to the movie, and engaging set pieces, this is yet another can't-miss Disney ride.
Number 15, Monster Mansion at Six Flags Over Georgia. Now, as a whole, Six Flags is much more well-known for its roller coasters than its dark rides, but one boat ride in Georgia really stands out from the rest of the pack. Partly developed by Disney Imagineers, this slow-moving boat invited guests to a monster picnic. At first, this ride seems like a family-friendly Jim Henson movie. Your boat will be welcomed by a bunch of friendly, furry monsters. A series of gags and humorous moments make up the lighthearted atmosphere. However, within all this, the monsters warn you to stay out of the marsh. And after making a wrong turn, it is clear to see why. Things go from Sesame Street to the Dark Crystal as your boat enters a marsh full of scary, villainous-looking monsters led by an ogre-like pig with a large club. Now, the music and lighting take on an ominous tone as the demonic creatures of the marsh surround your boat. Though you're eventually rescued by the good monsters, the ride still ends on a dark note. Just before returning to the boarding station, you'll enter a large tunnel shaped like a monster's mouth. Not only that, but a truck horn will come out of nowhere to jump scare you. Basically, it's implied that you're eaten alive and doomed to spend eternity in a monster sewage system. In terms of storytelling and character design, this is without a doubt the most engaging Six Flags dark ride out there. Just be aware, though, that it will probably give you and your kids nightmares.
Number 14, Trimper's Haunted House at Maryland's Trimper's Rides. We're heading down to Ocean City, Maryland for this one. Specifically, the landmark amusement park Trimper's Rides. Perhaps its most iconic attraction is Trimper's Haunted House. First opening in 1964, this classic haunted house ride has changed several times over the years. Most notably, a second floor was added in 1988. The dark ride itself combines the cheesy scares of the mid-1900s with more modern ones. From the beginning, you'll be greeted by a headless vampire and board coffin-shaped ride vehicles. Inside the ride building, you'll encounter a number of spooky set pieces. You'll encounter a pirate, a giant rat, skull-headed spiders, and a special guest appearance from Annabelle the doll. Then you'll go through the skeleton mine, a dazzling hallway, and an incredibly iconic segment of the ride. And that's only the first couple of scenes. You'll also tangle with creepy clowns, find yourself surrounded by zombies, maneuver a torture chamber, and come face to face with the devil himself. Suffice to say, it's pretty much all of Halloween condensed into a single ride building, and it is widely celebrated as a classic attraction. Definitely a must-do in the state of Maryland.
Number 13, Ghost Train at England's Blackpool Pleasure Beach. Ghost train rides exist at plenty of amusement parks and carnivals, but this one is widely regarded as an instant classic. Found at the historic Blackpool Pleasure Beach Amusement Park, this ride is a charming, old-school haunted house ride. The layout features classic haunted house elements, including skeletons, monsters, and a near-miss mirror illusion. While some may say it's more charming than scary, this ride has another frightening element to it that still remains an urban legend. For decades, many have claimed to have supernatural encounters on this ride. These encounters originate from a real-life ghost story that dates all the way back to the 1930s. According to local legend, the ride is haunted by the spirit of one of the ride's original operators, named Cloggy. Named for his habit of wearing clogs, this operator was loved by park fans and workers, and after his death, his spirit continues to haunt the attraction. Several people have reported strange sensations that aren't part of the ride, and some have heard the footsteps of clogs throughout the attraction. The ride was even featured on the British paranormal series Most Haunted in their first season. So not only is this a nostalgic dark ride, but fans of the paranormal may get a kick out of it as well.
Number 12, Black Diamond at Pennsylvania's Knoebels Amusement Park. Unlike the other rides on this list, this ride can also be classified as a roller coaster. Passengers make their way into the Pennsylvania coal mines, where things take a turn for the worst. A possessed-looking miner blows a hole in the wall, releasing evil spirits into the mine. The miners are trapped underground as they are seemingly killed off one by one. The very idea of being stuck in a mine adds to the ride's atmosphere, and by the end, a portal to hell seems to swallow the entire area whole. But perhaps the most eerie thing about this ride is its backstory. Near the end, you'll see a sign that reads Centralia on it. According to history, a mine fire has been burning in Centralia for almost 60 years. The fire led to the area around it becoming a ghost town, and that area is just half an hour away from Knoebels.
Number 11, Ghost Train at England's Fantasy Island. Not to be confused with the park in Skegness, this fantasy island is actually in Weymouth. Despite its small scale and mostly family-friendly attractions, its ghost train is well known among haunted house lovers. There's no real-life ghost story behind this attraction, but the experience as a whole is both unnerving and well put together. Starting off with a lift hill, you'll be greeted by a ghoulish-looking man with his mouth hanging open. Then you'll make your way through several rooms, each separated with an illustrated door. What's especially cool about this ride is how some of the rooms serve as tributes to classic horror franchises. There's a Halloween room with Michael Myers, a Nightmare on Elm Street room with Freddy, an Exorcist room with Reagan, and much more. In addition, this ride has some pretty disturbing imagery. I mean, just look at this bloated, bloody figure that would probably get this video demonetized in color. If that wasn't enough, there's also a spider room. Arachnophobics beware. The amount of content on this ride makes it a fan favorite among dark ride enthusiasts, with some even labeling it as the scariest ghost train ride ever.
Number 10, Revenge of the Mummy at various Universal Studios parks. This ride is just awesome, and it's not just a dark ride, but also doubles as an indoor roller coaster. The ride exists at Universal locations in Florida, Hollywood, and Singapore, but the Florida version is the largest, so we'll be talking about that one. Based on the Mummy film that wasn't a total cluster, the ride starts off in an ancient Egyptian tomb, with the ride vehicles resembling mine carts. Soon you'll pass by a ghastly-looking mummy animatronic, followed by a projection of Imhotep, the villain from the Mummy movie. He invites riders to serve him, and they proceed into a treasure room. He warns that if they refuse, they will savor a more bitter treasure. The cart then seemingly runs into a wall, and a slew of scarab beetles pour out of it. Though it's a mere projection, the accompanying sound effect is sure to give insectophobes the chills. The cart is then launched backwards, dropping down into another room. A turntable effect is used to simulate Imhotep moving the minecart. He then says, "Your souls are mine," and the cart is launched through his skull into a twisting, high-speed course. The train then re-enters the boarding station, or does it? A ride attendant's soul is sucked out by Imhotep, who proceeds to set the ceiling on fire. And yes, that is real fire. One more launch then follows, with Imhotep seemingly being defeated in the process. You're then treated to a humorous scene where Brendan Fraser demands his coffee before presumably being attacked by a mummy. Or maybe he's just looking into the future and seeing himself star in Furry Vengeance. All in all, this ride is flat out spectacular. Its intensity, special effects, and terrifying visuals make it among the best attractions at Universal Orlando.
Number 9, Phantom Manor at France's Disneyland Paris. If you're a Disney park fan, you may have heard of the Haunted Mansion. Each rendition is different, and that's certainly the case for Disneyland Paris's Phantom Manor. Unlike the American versions, this one takes park guests to the mining town of Thunder Mesa. The ride tells the story of a man named Henry Ravenswood who once struck gold and founded the prosperous town. After his death in an earthquake, Ravenswood would haunt the town, taking the form of a skull-headed phantom. He even went as far as to kill his daughter's fiancé after she planned to leave the town with him. Even worse, the murder was on his daughter's wedding day, leaving his daughter to wander around the house looking for her fiancé. Henry laughs at his daughter as she goes insane looking for her husband, making this without a doubt the darkest Disney attraction ever conceived. Many also consider it to be one of the best. With its elaborate set pieces, gorgeous animatronics, and powerful storytelling, this has without a doubt become one of the most acclaimed Disney dark rides of all time. It's yet another example of how, despite the occasional train wreck, Disney's theme park attractions are so well regarded in the industry.
Number 8. Harry Potter and the Forbidden Journey at Florida's Islands of Adventure. The Harry Potter films are no stranger to frightening moments. The Screaming Book and Sorcerer's Stone, Aragog in the Chamber of Secrets, and of course the Dementors in Prisoner of Azkaban. One can easily say the series has elements of supernatural horror. And of course, when the Wizarding World of Harry Potter first opened in 2010, its signature attraction was no different. Through the use of a revolutionary robotic arm mechanism, this ride gave guests the illusion they were flying on broomsticks. Several of the film's actors reprised their characters, taking passengers on a flight around Hogwarts Castle. Along the way, they will come across several perilous obstacles, including the Whomping Willow and Draco Malfoy. But things get even scarier than that. Due to the ride system, you really aren't able to see what's coming until it's right in front of you. This is true for scenes involving the Hungarian Horntail, the Dementors, and worst of all, Aragog and his children. There's no doubt that this is the scariest part of the ride. The sheer unpredictability of the robot's arm movements makes it seem like you'll crash right into these critters. As for the ride as a whole, it would widely be acclaimed by park guests and still holds up as a guest favorite. To put it lightly, it's a must-do for all Potterheads.
Number 7. The Lewis and Clark Big Adventure at Oregon's Oaks Amusement Park. This ride was meant to be more educational than scary, but the way it's put together is undoubtedly unsettling. What the park essentially did was gut a more standard haunted house ride and replace it with a ride about Lewis and Clark's famous expedition. For the most part, the ride consists of cutout figures with the dim lighting, making them look somewhat menacing. There was an ominous woman who sat by a fire, rocking back and forth. Then there was a disheveled-looking bald eagle that flies overhead, being lit up by a strobe light. Finally, there was a decayed bear animatronic that looked like something out of Five Nights at Freddy's. All this bear would do was bounce up and down, making loud hydraulic noises as it did so. Just imagine being stuck in the dark with this animatronic. The ride as a whole is widely considered to be so bad it's good by dark ride enthusiasts. CitySearch.com user David Brody described the ride as, quote, creepy in a David Lynch way and probably should be featured in some independent college films. Random, nonsensical, half-broken craziness which can't be expressed in words. Wait, he just did express it in words. Never mind. Sadly, though, this ride would supposedly last operate in 2012. Though it has been mostly forgotten, we are very fortunate to have it documented.
Number 6. The Haunted Mansion at Pennsylvania's Knoebels. What's not to love about Knoebels? Not only is it home to some of the best wooden roller coasters and an amazing selection of food, but it's also home to an excellent haunted house attraction. For just $3, you can experience one of the most beloved haunted house rides of all time. First opening in 1973, this is another dark ride that has evolved over the years. One thing this ride isn't is boring. You'll encounter a variety of jubilant jump scares and some honestly creepy imagery. What in God's name is this anyway? Me personally, that dragon in the clock always makes me jump, even when I know it's coming. Each jump scare is accompanied by a loud whistle or buzzer, which elicits an honest knee-jerk reaction. Even if you've ridden this multiple times, you'll find yourself being startled each ride. What makes this ride even better is the love and care that park officials put into it. The attention to detail is amazing, and there are tons of secrets that you won't notice on just one ride. Even the prop soup has fingers and onions floating in it. Finger onion soup, if you will. Suffice to say, this one is highly recommended.
Number 5. Stillwalk Manor at New Jersey's Casino Pier. You may not have heard of this attraction, but if you're a longtime Jersey Shore Boardwalk fan, it will probably ring a bell. Formerly operating at Casino Pier, this haunted house-style dark ride was not only a classic, but was pretty darn frightening as well. Like other rides of its kind, you go from room to room with props and jump scares scattered throughout the layout. What makes this dark ride stand out, though, is just how disturbing some of the imagery is. For one thing, just imagine this mangled, bat-like creature popping out at you from the darkness. Then, there's this giant spider that hangs menacingly on the wall, surrounded by other smaller spiders. Something about the imagery really stood out from the other haunted house rides, and it was all lovingly put together. But in a cruel twist of fate, this ride would meet a sudden and bitter end in 2012, when it was completely destroyed by Hurricane Sandy. Though the boardwalk would later recover, Stillwalk Manor has yet to be rebuilt. Fortunately, plenty of photos and a few videos still exist of this attraction, so the memories will continue to live on for the foreseeable future.
Number 4. Dinosaur at Disney World's Animal Kingdom. When Animal Kingdom first debuted in 1998, one of the most criticized elements was Dino Land USA. Taking on the appearance of a cheap carnival, the one saving grace of this themed land was Countdown to Extinction. Now known as Dinosaur, this is widely considered to be the scariest Disney dark ride out there. The ride story sends you back to the tail end of the Cretaceous period. Scientists send you on a mission to retrieve an iguanodon before the notorious asteroid strikes. Along the way, you'll encounter some of the most voracious beasts that have ever walked the Earth. Right from the start, the danger is conveyed with an Alioramus shown eating a smaller dinosaur whole. The vehicles rock back and forth as they speed through the prehistoric landscape. The most notorious part of this ride is undoubtedly the Carnotaurus. This demonic-looking dinosaur appears from the darkness and gets fairly close to the ride vehicle, eliciting screams from kids and even some adults. After appearing several times, the Carnotaurus makes a final lunge towards the vehicle as the asteroid hurtles towards Earth. But just before becoming Dino Chow, the vehicle just manages to escape back to the present. The darkness, loud noise, and vicious-looking animatronics on this ride have no doubt given it a reputation as a high-class dark ride for thrill seekers. And with a recent refurbishment, it fortunately isn't likely to close anytime soon.
Number 3, Jurassic Jungle Boat Ride in Pigeon Forge, Tennessee. Alright, let's be honest. Dinosaurs are the textbook definition of awesome. Jurassic Park, Land Before Time, Kung Fu Dino Posse, well, maybe not that last one, but still, what's not to love about them? These larger-than-life creatures can be both awe-inspiring and terrifying. The latter is certainly the case for one ride in the resort town of Pigeon Forge, Tennessee. Located right next to Reagan's House of Pancakes, this standalone attraction is yet another slow-moving boat ride. If you love both dinosaurs and animatronics, this ride has plenty of them. Throughout the course of the attraction, your boat will travel through a large, dark room encountering a number of dinosaurs. Of course, there are plenty of voracious raptors and T-Rexes to scare your children, but there are even more unsettling moments. In one scene, your boat will approach a massive pterosaur, who sounds like a dollar store toy that's low on battery. Later on, you'll come across a wall covered in bugs with an enormous snake crawling through it. For you submechanophobiacs out there, you can spot submerged tentacles and an abandoned Allosaurus head sitting stagnant underwater. But perhaps the scariest part of the ride is the ending, where a slack-jawed T-Rex pops out of the wall and roars at you. Once again, this animatronic would fit right at home with Foxy and Chica. Perhaps it was the real culprit behind the bite of '87. Over the years, this ride would decay quite a bit, which arguably made it even scarier. Despite the harsh reviews online, this ride really is worth checking out if you want a bone-chilling dark ride. And if you really feel like giving your kids nightmares, it is a must-do.
Number 2, Snow White's Adventures at Magic Kingdom. This ride is so infamous that many consider it to be even scarier than the extraterrestrial alien encounter. Based on the first feature-length Disney film, this attraction put passengers in Snow White's shoes as she tries to avoid the evil queen. The ride's atmosphere was dark and suspenseful, and the vintage set design made for some horrifying imagery. There were trees with gaping mouths, furniture with horrified expressions, skeletons rotting away in dungeons, and the overall lack of lighting added a certain eerie vibe to all of this. And like with other rides on this list, this one had plenty of jump scares. These mainly involved the evil queen, as she constantly tried to get Snow White to eat the poisoned apple. And when she can't do that, she tries taking out Snow White the old-fashioned way. In the dwarf's diamond mine, the queen tries running over guests with a minecart before dropping a giant diamond on them. The latter plan ending up being a smashing success. A flashing effect appeared after this sequence, representing the diamond crashing down onto Snow White. What's really messed up is that the ride ended right after this, implying that the queen did in fact kill Snow White. Suffice to say, this didn't happen in the movie. Supposedly, there is a reason why this ride is so terrifying. The story is that Disney Imagineer Claude Coates originally wanted to make the Haunted Mansion much darker, but when Disney went with a more lighter tone, he took out his frustration by making the Snow White ride as scary as possible. Of course, this is not confirmed, but it is at least a plausible explanation. Either way, this defunct ride will live on in infamy for bringing a bucket full of nightmares to the most magical place on Earth.
Number 1. Fata Morgana at the Netherlands Efteling. Efteling is often acclaimed for its great variety of dark rides. Perhaps the most highly rated one of the bunch is Fata Morgana. Based on 1001 Arabian Nights, this ride takes guests on a boat ride through Middle Eastern folklore. This ride is brought to life with 140 animatronics, with tons of well-themed set pieces throughout. After sailing through the jungle and the bustling marketplace, you'll enter the palace, where things take a frightening turn. After a while, you'll enter a torture chamber, with guards forcing prisoners to work the machines. Inside the water is a horrifying animatronic of a prisoner drowning in his cell. But there's even more. Towards the end of the ride, you'll enter the treasure room, where you'll come face to face with a djinn. This towering, deformed monster looms over the passengers, looking right at them. His giant head, bloated earlobes, bushy unibrow, and wide-eyed expression can easily qualify him as nightmare fuel. There's a reason why he's made the thumbnail of this video. He's just plain menacing. And with the worldwide popularity of Efteling, it's no wonder why this ride was ranked number 1. So if you ever find yourself in the Netherlands, head on over to Efteling and give this ride a shot.
Special thanks to all my guest stars for this video, and if you want to check out their channels, I've put links in the description. Before we wrap things up, check out my merchandise shop for Theme Park Crazy merchandise. Take a photo wearing one of my shirts at a park, and feel free to send it to me at themeparkcrazy1992@gmail.com. Your photo may be featured on my Instagram page. I just want to give a special shout out to my new Patreon supporters. Verbal shoutouts start at the gold tier, so if you don't hear your name, it will be listed at the end of the video. Here's a special shout out to Kelsey Ward and the 32-Bit Phoenix. Thanks for watching, everyone. Feel free to like, share, and subscribe. You can follow me on social media on Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook, or you can check out my website at themeparkcrazy.com. This is Theme Park Crazy, and I'll see you all next time.